Indian motorcycles have just released new motorcycles for 2025. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So Indian Motorcycles just released some new motorcycles for 2025. Well, kind of. And, well, let's get into it and let's see what's what. So I'm going to do this in kind of reverse order, if you will. So if you like a traditional Indian motorcycle, then look no further than the Springfield. Lots of people love that. They love the styling, the traditional styling, the quintessential mud guards, the way they are. And look, you either love it or you don't. It's a Marmite bike for me. And for me, I've never liked it. I've never liked the Springfield. I've never really liked that kind of Indian styling. This is kind of one of my criticisms of Indian, or one of my reservations about it. It's that kind of styling where I was kind of always favouring Harley Davidson in terms of that department. However, for Europe, this Indian Springfield, which they've released, it's only going to be available for Europe for one more year. In the United States, I think the Springfield is going to carry on as well. This is a limited edition. And look, if this floats your boat and you like that sort of traditional Indian look, then this could be for you. But it is coming in at over 25,000, 25,895 here in the UK, which is a hefty amount of money, especially in this day and age, right? But if you want that and you're an Indian fan, yeah, I mean, I prefer the Indian motorcycles that are on the traditional styling route. I've always said I always like the Dark Horse variants. I love those bikes. But in terms of this, I'm not so sure. Not for me. And nearly 26 grand as well. It'll be a tall order for me, but I can see where some people would really like that. And I just wonder how many would be sold around Europe, and certainly how many would still be sold in the United States as well. But there we go. So if you're into your big touring motorcycles, then Indian Motorcycles, they have this Roadmaster, which is, it's a hefty bike. If you like your big touring, let's say Honda Goldwings, or even especially, you know, your big tours like from Harley Davidson, your Road Glide Limited, your Street Glide Ultra, that kind of thing, then this is the kind of thing that you're looking for, the Roadmaster, right? It's got boxes, it's got top box, it's got leg protectors, all that kind of stuff, speakers, infotainment system, everything that you want in a big tour, big comfortable armchair seats, all that kind of jazz. So what they've done for the Roadmaster for 2025, they've given it the option of an elite styling schnizzle, if you like. This is the Roadmaster Elite. So Indian, with their motorcycles, they have an elite range, which is different styling, different spec. Essentially, it's still the same bike, but obviously it's going to cost you a lot more. With the Roadmaster Elite for 2025, it's going to cost you a whopping £38,695. Now that, by any standards, is a lot of money. Granted, you're getting a lot of bike here, especially if you like the big touring motorcycle, but that is a lot of motorcycle and a lot of money for that experience. Certainly too rich for my blood, but I can see where some people might want to spend their money in this general direction, especially if you've already bought big touring motorcycles in the past and you're just, let's say, going to PX your old one in for a new one. So the step up in money isn't going to be that grand. So I can see where people would buy this. I'm just not sure how many people will buy it, certainly in this kind of economic climate. Okay, so on to the motorcycle that I suppose would be appealing to most people, and certainly most people's wallets. It's the Scout 60 lineup, and there are 3 motorcycles for the Scout 60. However, only 2 are available in the UK. And also around Europe. And that is the Scout 60 Bobber and the Scout 60 Classic. Now, the Scout 60 Bobber, which is kind of more my styling, if you will, that's coming in at £10,995. The Scout 60 Classic is coming in at £11,695. So it really depends what kind of styling you prefer, what kind of spec you want. Now, of course, with all these bikes, you can add accessories to it, and then the price is going to go up and up. But in terms of these motorcycles, at around about the £10,500 to £11,500, dollars, shekels, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. In the United States, I believe they've got a Sport Scout 60 as well. If these float your boat, then actually they're not a bad price. They're not a bad price for these. Now, if you love your Scouts from Indian, then you're kind of going to like these Scout 60s as well, because in terms of overall bike, overall size, overall tech on the bikes, in terms of the chassis, in terms of the braking, they're very similar. You know, there are some differences, but they're very similar. But the Scout 60 has just got a smaller engine. It's the same engine, just a smaller capacity. This is at, what, 999? It's a 1000cc motorcycle, right? It's not going to produce a whole load of power, or certainly that power that it does, it's not going to be a high performance machine or, you know, a real speed machine. These aren't those kinds of bikes. So the engine is the 99cc liquid cooled engine V-twin. It's going to deliver a maximum 87 Newton meters of torque and 85 horsepower. It's only got a 5-speed box on this with a wet multi-plate clutch. So the suspension at the front is just your telescopic forks with 120 millimeters of travel, and for the rear it's got dual shocks at 76 millimeters of travel. It's got a 2-piston brake caliper at the front, a single piston caliper at the rear, both on a single disc at 298 millimeters, and it's got a 2-into-1 exhaust. Now, empty weight is 230 kilos, but with a full load of fuel it's 241 kilos, and it's got a small tank. It's a 13-litre tank. Now, the colors for the Classic, it's got a base metallic black, and it's also got this frosty silver. Now, in terms of tech on it, it's got ABS, yeah, fine. It's got traction control, cruise control, and it's got 3 different ride modes as well. Now, for the Scout 60 Bobber, it also comes in a black metallic paint, but it's also got this hard metal color as well. So essentially the same bike, but just different styling, obviously, because one's a Classic and one's a Bobber, right? Now, the Bobber looks like a Bobber in terms of general stuff like coloring and styling and mud guards. And the Classic, well, it looks like a classic Indian motorcycle. And yeah, and those Indian mud guards as well. And, you know, the other accent pieces on it. So it, you know, there's a definite difference. It really depends which is your style and whichever floats your boat. However, what will be appealing is the price on this. So you made a video a while ago and talking about the value of motorcycles, of value versus tech. This is where we're starting to see companies, let's say like Harley Davidson, struggle a little bit, but companies like Indian giving a little bit more, and they're coming in on price as well. So as I say, that $10,000 to $12,000 shekel price point, and you're getting quite a substantial amount of motorcycle. Yeah, you can start to see the value here. Now, in terms of rideability, well, if you like the Scouts that were re-released last year, essentially you've got the same bike, just with a smaller engine, just with a detuned engine or a smaller capacity engine, just giving you less power. So if overall power isn't your thing and you just want a nice, comfortable ride on a bike that looks pretty cool and that, you know, kind of suits your riding style, then you're probably going to favor this Scout 60 over another Indian, and maybe over another motorcycle in general. Will this be a really big seller? It's hard to say. I mean, certainly the price point is kind of lends itself to being quite a decent seller. But in terms of competing with other manufacturers, you probably think it's going to struggle as well, especially when we're talking about price versus value for money, or what other motorcycles can offer. Now, it's just going to come down to styling. If you like Indian motorcycles and you like this kind of bike, then obviously you're going to come in and see the value of this, and you're going to say, yeah, this is pretty decent. I kind of like it. If you're not so concerned about the power, then you're probably going to go for the Scout 60 over the Scout. And if you like more of a traditional look, you're going to go for the Scout 60 Classic. If you like a bit more on the edge and you like your bobbers and such, then obviously you're going to go for the Scout 60 bobber, aren't you? But overall, really good stuff from India, and it's nice to see that they've brought this back. This is their entry level into their lineup. I would like to see them bring out more motorcycles of a similar kind of engine size, or maybe even a smaller bike entirely, 500cc, 700cc. I would really like to see if they would ever go in that general direction. But it's really good to see that they brought this back. It gives people who really don't want to spend a lot of money on a new motorcycle, and they don't really care about the big engine sizes, you know, you think, well, actually this is pretty decent. I'll be very interested to see after the next year, let's say in 2026, what the value of these will be in the used market as well, because that'll kind of give you a good idea of whether these bikes are sought after or not. People have bought them, they don't really like them, and they suddenly want to step up to the Scout or another bike entirely in the Indian lineup, or maybe go over to Harley Davidson, or just leave the American brands altogether. So 2026 will be really interesting to see how these bikes have sold and how well they've been regarded. But on face value, they look pretty decent. As for the other two, the Roadmaster Elite, okay, yeah, you've really got to like your touring bikes, and you've got to have pretty deep pockets to afford that. The Springfield Limited Edition, as I say, it really depends on styling here for me. If you like that style, it's a Marmite bike. For me, it's Marmite. I don't particularly like that style. You know, I like the Dark Horse style. Anyway, I would accept the styling, but in Dark Horse colours, as it were, just that black or that Dark Horse colour, if you like. I would much prefer to go for that than this Springfield Limited Edition. But as I say, that's a personal thing, not necessarily a reflection on the bike. As I say, expensive bikes, if you like it, great. If you don't, you're not going to buy them, right? But the Scout 60, that's going to attract a lot more people to the brand. And let's just see if this turns into sales. If you like what I do here, well, just keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now.